Hi, this is a quick editor's note. I'm not using my better quality mic for this. Just a heads up, I'm going to do pronunciations of names that I tried my absolute best with pronouncing. If I pronounce them wrong, and if you are Chinese, you have every right to rip me to shreds in the comments. I tried my best, I'll admit, but if I didn't do it right, I didn't do it right. What can I say? Anyway, on with the video. So there I was in my new college, and due to scheduling being a bitch, I had to quickly add another class, and I chose a class all about East Asian pop culture. The class was fun and really interesting, especially with my final for the class, which was to pick a piece of media from East Asia, Japan, South Korea, or China, and write about it and what it means in the concept of the world of modern media, its effects, and its impact in East Asia itself. So, as you would expect, almost everyone chose Japan or something animated related, being Dragon Ball, Death Note, and surprisingly, Metal Gear Solid 5. Did I get spoiled for it? Yeah, I did get spoiled, but whatever. And then there were some that chose South Korea and K-pop. However, I noticed something. Wait, no one's choosing China. No one chose any Mandarin or Chinese-speaking territories. Heck, I'm even surprised that no one chose Genshin, considering the impact it had on China. As for me, well, while I was contemplating my final, I thought the usual of Pokemon or Sonic, since they were Japan and they're some of my favorite franchises, when all of a sudden, just like a baseball out of left field, I go on YouTube and see a video with some Asian characters, and my immediate reaction while watching it is, what the f*** is a Danmei? Oh. Alright, so for those who are just tuning in, or not aware, or just not online, Danmei is Chinese boys' love, or yaoi, translated as indulging beauty. In the 1970s, as Japan saw the birth of the boys' love genre, it leaked over to Taiwan, and eventually was smuggled into China via fan translations. From there, it gained an underground fandom, and when the 2000s and the internet came to be, there was an explosion of Danmei fics. Left and right, websites such as Xinjiang Literature City popped up, and creators started to make their own love stories by woman for woman, and Danmei was a hit among the population. Some of the most notable authors you may have seen floating around or just hearing about is Mozhang Dongzhi, Roubao Bushiro, Meng Xiji, Priest, and many others. The stories are filled with themes of action, cultivation, which I want to get this definition out of the way. It's pretty much martial arts to get a higher being of existence or immortality, and most importantly, the biggest one that you're here for, gay romance. So, when I heard that, I, a bona fide, queerified, thug-shaking, man-kissing gay man, just had to join in and see what it is about, especially with how my East Asian culture final plays into it. So then I decided to see what the hype is around the pretty long-haired men in settings of ancient China. I went to my local bookstore, bought the books, watched the donghua, which is the Chinese anime, listened to the audio dramas to the best I can, also watched the live-action series, and dived into it. It can't be that good, yeah?
A few moments later.
Oh my god, it's that good. So let's not wait any longer. Allow me to introduce you to Danmei, the best thing to come out of China since jiafei products. So, for a more complex understanding, Danmei as a genre is a hybrid, mixing historical elements of China, fantasy elements, and incorporating Chinese folklore, and still prioritizing the love and romance between the two male protagonists. Danmei is a type of novel where you can not only use it to immerse yourself in a culture, or your culture, but also sympathize with the queer relationship from halfway across the world. Throughout my time reading the Danmei available in the US and some online, I not only found myself enjoying the relationship the two men blossom, but also see myself getting a glimpse into Chinese writing from the present day, seeing it in pure form and not conforming to the juggernauts of Japan and Korea at its back door is a really pleasant surprise. And of course the visuals are beautiful if you're watching the donghua or the live action. It is just wow. Of course, one thing I do love seeing is the subtlety of love, not only to avoid censorship, but to also just enjoy the intimate moments in a relationship or the two men's love. For examples in the donghas, stuff like Huaqiang sucking the blood out of Jie Lang's hand and fixing his hat, or Wei Wuxian and wangji caring for each other after the fight against the lake monster. It's pleasant and warming. It's not too in your face, nor is it hidden to the point it's inconceivable. It's there and it's beautiful. Add on with the intense action, the ensemble cast, and especially for Mo Zhang Dongzhu's work, the lore. It's such a beautiful culmination of storytelling and leads to an impact viewers can picture in their minds. And man, oh man, is that art style in both the donghas and the book publishings, it's beautiful. You see, the thing is, Danmei has been around for a while, as mentioned before, but honestly, I think now is the best time to invest in Danmei, or become a Danmei fan, especially if you're outside of Asia. It is now easier to access. Not only do you have the interwebs, but you also have other publishing series such as 7 Seas Entertainment, who has published other manga series, my personal favorite Ancient Magus Bride, and are now publishing and distributing it in the United States, and also across the world too. And of course, there's other publishers too that are a bit niche, but you'll still find them too. If you want to know, 7 Seas is currently publishing Mo Zhang Dongzhu's work, as well as Roubao Bushiro and many others. And as you can tell by this video I'm currently playing, I'm broke, but also because I'm a college student, and I'm definitely keeping up with the releases. There's going to be a guide down below that was made by a Twitter user that I'll share and link, so that way you can see, oh wow, look, this is the release dates. So have fun with that. And if you want recommendations, considering how there's a vast world of Danmei, lucky for you, I have some. Heads up for the Danmei fans already watching this, this is going to be the basic, like, simple ones. Of course, there's a lot more, but let's just start small, because I'm also starting small, but wow, I'm already diving into it. But also keep in mind that some Danmei have darker story elements and not too much where it's weird and bad, and the work does not glorify it, and it's not the focus of it. So if you are turned off by some elements, that's totally okay, but hey, that's not all of them. So let's get started. Do you want the most easygoing and nicest one? And by that I mean the bread and butter of the Danmei series, the one that put it on the map? Dao Zu Shi, or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. Journey with the reincarnated Wei Wuxian with wangji, traveling to resolve the mysteries of cultivation politics while also fighting off the empowering Wen clan. The live action is on Netflix with the donghua on YouTube, or you want the audio drama also on YouTube. It's really good and personally my favorite as of now because it's simple, it's easy, and I definitely like Wei Wuxian's character as well as the other characters such as Jingling. Oh, really quick fun fact. You know that one meme that goes around that's like zoom in and the first thing you see is how you'll die, and it's like a fan fiction with like a bunch of tags, like way more than there should be? Yeah, it turns out that fanfic is from Dao Zu Shi. It's Sexy Times with Wangji. And actually, yeah, that's them. I was so shocked to find out. I was literally looking at it and I'm like, wait a second, that's them. It was so funny. It was like finding out that the guy who did the Skyfall cover was also the McDonald's brony. Talk about fear and loathing on AO3. Or if you want another work by Mo Zhang Dongzhu, a more godly one that's more calmer, Tian Guan Ci FU revolves around a disgraced god, Lang, and trying to build the shrine when he encounters the ghost king Huaqiang, and do some simple tasks to get people to believe. The Netflix donghua is good. There's currently a 2nd season in the work as of recording, and the live action is also in the works. However, thanks to a little nasty little bug, it's currently in production hell, and we have no idea what's going on. Or if you like isekai and 3D animation, let's get to the first work Mo Zhang Dongzhu ever wrote, Rensha Fanpai Shi Tong, or Scum Villain's self-saving system, which revolves around Shen, who hates a web novel so much he gets reincarnated into the villain of Shen Qingqiu, and he has to win over the protagonist Luo Binghe before he becomes the ultimate demon overpowered god he hates and punishes him for all eternity. Okay, I think that's enough Mo Zhang Dongzhu hyping up. I'm pretty sure you guys are getting sick of it, so let's get into another one that's also making the waves. If you like a darker series or more edgier or bit longer, Ha He Ta De Bai Mao Shizun, or The Husky and His White Cat Shizun, or simply Tuhan, is made by Meatbun Doesn't Eat Meat, which is also Mo Bao Bo Shirun, I'm not going to pronounce it again because I'm getting a little tongue twisted, involving Mo Ran, after being reincarnated into his past self, reaches revenge on his soon-to-be lover and former teacher, Chu Wanning. Like Scum Villain, it also involves mentor and former student, but at least the romance doesn't happen when anyone's underage or like that, don't worry. I'm still reading Tuha, by the way, so I can't say much without spoiling myself, but the Danmei is in store and Meatbun's other works are currently on the way being published in 7 Seas. There are so many other Danmei, but if I list all, we're going to be here all night. Sorry, veteran Danmei fans, I didn't list all of the niche ones, I'm sorry. So, all I have to say is pick one that resonates with your hearts, whether it be the ones in stores, the one online, the one on Amazon, and pick the most pleasing to the eye and to the heart, especially if you're queer or a gay man like me. Come on, guys, give it a try. Danmei is beautiful. In fact, it's even in the name indulging beauty. At first appearing a simple battle shonen anime, or in this case a donghua, it ends up blossoming into romance between two men. The genre of Danmei is inherently by a woman for a woman, and depicts male love and romance between men through the idealized female gaze. While some people might take offense to it, I stopped caring. I don't care. In fact, as a gay man, I'm happy. I'm very happy seeing Danmei exist. One, because I get more MLM romances I get to see and love, which is awesome because I friggin' love gay men. I love men. I love being MLM. All these men are beautiful and I welcome them all. I love men. Seeing authors both LGBT and not LGBT write queer stories is totally okay. And to get it out of the way, yes, it is common for non-LGBT people to write queer stories, and it's not really groundbreaking or diverse as it is now as it was back then. However, we're not talking about the United States. We're talking about China, and it's a huge exception when it comes to Danmei. Let me explain. Manga, manhwa, and media from Japan and Korea have been getting the major forefront in media making, and for LGBT media, it's practically the same. We're either seeing LGBT mangas like Wandering Sun, Whispering Me a Love Song, and the 5 mangas I made videos on in this channel, links below, and South Korea has also produced a good amount of LGBT manhwa, and especially gay dramas such as Semantic Error, Light on Me, and however, out of all of the places in Asia, whether it's Thailand's BL dramas, the Philippines' trans movies with trans leads, and Indonesia's, you never expect China. You might be wondering, what's the shock out of it? Well, you see, if you're not aware about China with their LGBTQ relationship, it's not that good. Everyone knows the meme of China censoring and cutting out gay characters. Yeah, that rings true to a T, especially with their own products, and it all comes back to the 1960s. On one side of the world, we saw queers and gays fight back and start to push against their oppressors. However, the other side was going in the exact opposite direction through a cultural revolution. And during that revolution, same-sex relationships were seen as deviant and prone to censorship by the now in power Mao Zedong. Fast forward after Mao's passing, and now we're in 1997. Homosexuality is no longer illegal in mainland China, so we cool? No. Despite this, LGBT communities still face censorship and crackdowns in the country, with governments deeming anything non-heteronormative to be censored, and this rings true also to the media, TV, and the internet. Section 5 of Computer Information Network and Internet Security states that any pornographic material, including same-sex relationships, are prohibited from being broadcasted or presented, and the National Radio and Television Administration of China has called for stricter censorship. Why? Being LGBT is seen as vulgar and deviant. The pressure of being different, not living to family expectations in society, is deemed mentally insane, and the media created is no exception. Because of this, several LGBT student groups, websites, LGBT resources, and social medias like WeChat and Weibo are swatted, crackdowns occur, leading to more censorship, and Danmei sites like Xinjiang Literature City are not safe either. And despite being exported out to the world and gaining popularity, it's not safe from its own country and censorship crackdowns. For example, the author Tian Yi is now facing 10 years in prison for simply writing erotic scenes in Danmei, and potentially many others are facing these same trials and charges, and we have no idea because of censorship or information control. Despite this, despite all the pressure, despite the unjust 10 years, Danmeis and authors still prevail. How so? Well, let's discuss what they do and how they maintain their queer identity in a heteronormative society. The first thing to take note when watching or viewing is that unlike most BL or yaoi, the presentation of the story, especially in the donghua, is drastically different. At first glance, the notion of it being a gay romance is completely hidden due to the tone of the scenes, the visuals, and the mix of action and fantasy, making the visuals and story feel like Demon Slayer with its animation and spiritual essence, as well as also animation techniques. This is because Danmei is able to share its queer narrative and also express Chinese culture through its use of the genre xianxia. What is xianxia? Well, it's the Chinese equivalent to fantasy, so to speak, that revolves around the concepts of martial arts, cultivation, gods, and heavily influenced by traditional Chinese elements. By incorporating it, they are able to develop a queer romance, but also tell a story, immerse us into the world, and give us a reason to care for everyone in this ancient Chinese world. This brings me to the other point I want to bring up. I did mention the subtle gay moments that happen in Danmei prior to this video, but there is a bigger subtle thing that helps persuade the selling of it being a man-loving man novel, and that is the aesthetic and setting of it being in ancient China. And in order for you guys to understand what I mean, I think a history lesson on ancient China is in order. In the times of Imperial China, being gay was normal. Same-sex relationships weren't taboo, but not common. They existed perfectly fine without fear of persecution. In fact, emperors from the Han Dynasty, Song Dynasty, and Ming Dynasty had male servants that served as lovers to please the emperor when heterosexual marriage just didn't do it for them. Even going so far where there were marriages and favorite servants for other men. This all changed once the Shang Dynasty came into the power in the 17th century. In an effort to keep up with the West and incorporate Western values in China from Europe, the Qing courts wanted to make same-sex relations illegal, with gay intimacy being banned in 1740, leading it to be banned until 1997, which is 2.5 centuries later. Despite this, same-sex relationships are still shunned and deemed vulgar, and even though homosexuality was removed from the Book of Mental Disorders, it's still treated as such in the modern-day China. In ancient China, it was okay to be gay, and that rang true for its mythologies and stories as well, and this is all incorporated into Danmei, so you know it's not only a Chinese story, it's a queer story. While it is true that some Danmei take place in the modern world and modern day, like Seizing Dreams and Glory, I think the idea of it being in ancient China helps the narrative a lot more than I expected. Not only to sell it off as a gay novel without the worry of censorship, but to be persuasive that even though they can't express it, this is a romance story. The ancient Chinese settings and elements help bypass censors, as making it less based in reality and more based in fantasy, let alone one that romanticizes a past that China does love to maintain and honor even after the Cultural Revolution. And for readers, especially the target audience of Chinese young women and the unintentional audience of queer Chinese people, it gives them an ideal vision of romance and what they strive for, while also connecting them to their past and their own culture. The characters wearing hanfus, the belief of ancient Chinese gods, the callbacks to Taoism and Buddhism, all in an attempt to get the viewers not only invested in the romance of two men, but also to give them a glimpse in love for their own heritage and background. Especially important for those living in Chinese diasporas overseas, the aesthetics of ancient China is not the only thing, as Danmei calls back to several parts of Chinese tales and folklore that hint at gay love and relationships. For example, one big selling point of MDCS is the rabbits and the merch. You'll literally go on Amazon or eBay and you will see merch of wangji and wuxian as rabbits and all that. This isn't just for cuteness or kawaii factor, as there is a god called Shen, who is a rabbit god that represents love and sex between men. That is pretty common. In fact, if you watch one of the few episodes, there's literally an episode where wuxian just brings wangji rabbits, and it's really funny. Another element is the cut sleeve, which refers to a story where the emperor loved his male servant so much he did not want to wake him and cut his sleeve off. The characters are referred to as cut sleeves and show this. Even in the drama, wuxian refers to sleeping with wangji, he tugs the sleeve. Because of these small elements, these small callbacks to Chinese folklore, it not only dives the viewer farther into the romance of MLM, but also gives Danmei readers a view of Imperial China's hidden yet beautiful past, especially the gay parts of it. As mentioned prior, Danmei might be by woman for woman, and that's not only for them, however, as queer Chinese people have found refuge in it. For a woman, it's an escape, but also an ideal. In a heavily patriarchal society like China, Danmei is a way to visualize the ideal relationship and what they strive for. By having two men, they establish the partners as equal. They can feel like they can channel their ideal relationship without men being over their shoulder and pressuring them. They don't need the hetero relationships that are made via the male gaze or one that's idealized for men, as they find one that's made by a woman for a woman. In the real world, there are plenty of cases of misogyny and even domestic abuse, and Danmei serves an escape, a dream, a wish of equal love where partners come together to team up. That's why they chose two men, since unfortunately, women aren't taken seriously in China. but with two men, they can express their desires and have others sympathize with them without being judged, as well as picture their ideal relationship with men without worrying about men dominating their space or their ideals. And despite not being as visible as women, LGBTQ people in China resonate with Danmei, and to them, use it as a comfort. I mean, it's obvious, like, look right there. And also, this does ring true for other women love women. There's a genre called binghe, which also exists. I haven't read much of it, but I will leave a link to it down below if you're interested. This one goes out to the women who love women who like binghe. Check that out. Not only has Danmei helped people question their sexuality or at times their gender, Danmei serves as a way to connect with their queer side. In a country that sees any form of LGBT identity as vulgar and disruptive, the gay romance that deviates from the ideal heterosexual one helps them connect, helps them express themselves, and sometimes make them realize who they are. By utilizing Danmei, they are able to view themselves in the forbidden relationship and also find a heartwarming story underneath. Through Danmei, LGBT Chinese people have a safe haven, have a home. Where homophobic and transphobic families and friends fail, people like xiang and binghe fill that gap of loneliness, and by doing so, give them a community and give them comfort. Whether it's the minor trans characters like Xing from Tian Guan Ci FU, or just the actual gay characters like xiang or wuxian and his pretty interesting kink list, they not only help women figure out their ideal sexuality or their ideal relationship, it also helps queer Chinese people be visible, be seen, and be heard. Although Danmei isn't the ideal LGBT rep and it's not explicitly stated to be queer, it's still valuable, and personally, I think it's a good read. I got to see a glimpse of not only Chinese culture, but queer Chinese identities. I don't know the sexuality or gender of the authors, but who cares? They're still showing me and other people just visible and being there present, and it helps a lot, especially when I think the world is just only America or England or Europe. It helps a lot, so check out Danmei. I would love to give an analysis on that, but personally, I'm not the biggest Danmei fan since I'm still growing. However, I want to recommend and shout out Qingqiu, because Qingqiu is a really good Danmei channel, and I've been watching her, and she is just really good in what she does. And also, I am jealous of her dolls, because I really want those stuffed animals, but they're expensive. So, to conclude, Danmei is indulging in beauty, indulging in the beauty of ancient Chinese fantasy and Chinese mythology, indulging in Chinese culture, indulging in the love between two men in a world that will censor them to hell and back. Regardless, it still blossoms and the beauty is still indulged, and that's why I think it's perfect to recommend or read Danmei. Whew, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, this was a curveball I expected, because I don't know if a lot of my viewers are going to be happy, but I generally like Danmei. My next video, oh boy, my next video, you guys are going to get hit with the curveball like I was with Danmei, and you're going to witness it. But honestly, while you're here, let's not focus on that now. In fact, I have a college to finish, so I'm almost done with that. Let's get going. Anyway, while you're here, subscribe to my YouTube since you're here now. I'm going to watch more queer videos and also non-queer videos. Don't worry, I got one cooking. As well as also check out my Twitter, check out my TikTok, check out my Instagram where I'm posting about cosplays and all that. As well as also just donate to Ko-fi if you can, because hey, I need more Danmei books. So yeah, also join my Discord server if you want to talk or hang out with me. I'd love to do that. Or I might go live on Twitch, so check out the links down below. So if you're there, just check me out, and thank you so much for watching, and have a great time, and make sure to buy some Danmei. Of course, the link will be in below for the release dates of books, and also binghe links. So thank you, bye.